Hi, everyone. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us this afternoon. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Pranav Chowdhury, and I am a rising high school junior from Great Falls, Virginia, as well as one of the co-founders of Virginia Teen Democrats. So we're so excited to have you all here today, and we are beyond enthusiastic about electing Democrats up and down the ballot this November in order to work for a better future for our state and for our country. And I also want to take a moment to recognize my fellow co-founders who have been a part of this incredible journey from the very beginning: Selina, Al-Shihabi, Lynne, and Abigail Shu.
As we kickstart VAYD's launch, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Lynne, a rising high school junior from Hanover County, and another co-founder of VAYD. This summer, while working on campaigns, Pranav, Selina, Abigail, and I have had the opportunity to meet with some amazing politically active teenagers all across Virginia. Through this, we realized how advantageous teens can be when it comes to political campaigns and how much energy we can bring. Unfortunately, our fourth co-chair, Abigail Shu, cannot be here as she is competing at Archery Nationals, but she has also worked enthusiastically to establish VAYD and on this convention.
Hey guys, I'm Selina Al-Shihabi. I'm a rising high school junior from McLean, Virginia, and I'm the co-founder of Virginia Teen Democrats as well. Pranav, Ethan, Abigail, and I started Virginia Teen Democrats because we understand how important teen activism is. In this era of uncertainty and polarization, teens are seeking out ways to get involved more than ever before, but many don't know how. There are currently 600 public high schools in Virginia, yet only 40 of those high schools have ever had a Democratic club. Teenagers are an untapped gold mine when it comes to political organizing, and VAYD is working to tap into that potential. Oftentimes, students want to start a club at their high school and get involved, yet they lack the support and resources, especially if they're in heavily Republican areas. VAYD provides a support system for students who want to create those clubs. We do this by connecting Democratic students all across Virginia to each other and political campaigns. We also provide a support network, especially for teens living in red areas. As of now, we currently have over 30 high schools that are part of VAYD, and over 20 of them are new clubs that VAYD has helped create. We accomplished this in less than 2 months and plan on continuing to grow with your help. Now you will hear from one of our amazing club presidents, Brook Smith.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brook Smith, chair of the Appalachian region and president of the Floyd County chapter of Virginia Teen Democrats. First of all, I want to say that I am so excited just to be here. It's amazing to be surrounded by so many other young people who are passionate about the same things I am. Although many young Americans participate in politics solely to the extent of voting, and some even less than that, depending on age and interest, the possibilities to become involved are endless, even for minors. Volunteering or donating to a local campaign, joining or working with a political organization in your area, just like this one, volunteering at one of your county's polling places on election day, even something as simple as raising awareness on social media. I could go on. All these opportunities are available. Some of them can just be difficult to find, especially when you live in a town almost nobody's heard of, in a district so red that nobody's even running against your incumbent Republican congressman. I've been interested in politics for years, and in fact, I hope to study political science in college next fall, but I've never been sure how to get involved. Living in tiny Floyd, Virginia, I struggle to find opportunities to engage with our national or even state politics. It wasn't until I was lucky enough to be connected to VAYD that I had begun to genuinely think that I could arrive on the political scene while I was still in high school. This organization is just today celebrating its official launch, and it's already changed my entire perspective on what's possible for me at this point in my life. Not only have I met some incredible kids whose connections astound me and whose ages make me feel like I've wasted most of my teenage years, but I've given the opportunity to hopefully work on political campaigns and to attend events with national office holders. Without this organization, there's no way that these experiences would be accessible to me or anyone else in Southwest Virginia before college. This organization is dedicated to providing a leg up to the youngest of the young Democrats, including and especially the ones who need it most. I can say with complete sincerity that I am eager to see how we develop over the next year and to grab hold of every opportunity we create. Now, I know that without VAYD, I would definitely never be afforded the honor to introduce to you all the United States Senator from our great Commonwealth of Virginia, Tim Kaine.
Brooke, thank you so much. And I am just absolutely thrilled to be on with the kickoff of this Virginia Teen Democrats. It's an exciting moment. And I will say to Brooke, she talked about being from a town that few have heard from that's pretty red. Floyd is pretty red, but it is an amazing place and there's some wonderful people there. And Brooke, I'm taking part of my summer vacation there this summer. Some law school friends and I are reprising a bike trip that we did 25 years ago, and we're going to see if we're still up to it 25 years later, and we're going to be coming through Floyd in about 10 days. So anyway, it makes me feel good to see you and hear you talk about it. What a great thing to start Virginia Teen Democrats, and the statistic that was mentioned earlier that only 40 high schools in Virginia have ever had a high school Democratic club is pretty amazing, but it matches my own experience. There have been some high schools that have had these clubs for a long time. I think of Oscar Smith in Chesapeake. I think of Salem High School. They've tended to have a Democratic club that's been pretty strong. Charlottesville has had one, but I think you're right, most have not, because it's hard to start one and get support from candidates or others who might come and help out. So here's a pledge I want to make to you. Consider me an honorary Virginia Teen Democrat, and if there's anything that I can either help you or the Virginia Young Democrats do, that's sort of my role now. You know, I'm a little bit of a senior statesman. It's hard for me to believe that about myself, but now that I've been in politics, elected office more than 25 years, the thing that makes me the proudest is actually working with and encouraging young people. So if you want me to help you with Virginia Teen Democrats, or I know we've got Virginia Young Democrats leadership on the call too, just reach out and I'd be glad to help. And probably the best way to get me, if there's things I can do to be helpful, is to reach out to a person that many of you know, my state director, Corinne Charles Dungo. And Corinne is an amazing young public servant who was my campaign manager in 2018, is my state director in my Senate office, and also does a lot of interaction with political campaigns around Virginia. And I want to give you Corinne's email address just in case you want to reach out if there's anything we can do. Her maiden name is Corinne Charles, so just go charles.corinne, Keren, @gmail.com, and you can reach out to Corinne. She's on the call right now, and I know she'd love to hear from you about ways we can help. Look, I started as a Democrat when I was a teenager. Now, I probably wasn't as earnest and sincere and thoughtful as many of you. I sort of knew I was a Democrat as soon as I realized my parents were Republicans. That was kind of how it started. You know, that was my youthful rebellion. I didn't engage in unproductive rebellion, but something about the time in which I grew up, where pivotal events were happening when I was 10 years old, like the assassination of RFK and Martin Luther King, and the anti-war candidacy of Eugene McCarthy. These were things that affected me as I was reading newspapers as a young person. And my parents were more on the Republican side, and I decided, you know, I think I'm a Democrat. I was helped in that by my grandmother, Pauline Mannion Burns, a great Irish Catholic, who had this phrase, "I'm a Democrat and I don't mean maybe." And I loved my grandmother, and she was a rock solid Democrat. She remembered being a child in rural Kansas in the 1928 election, where the Democratic Party nominated a Catholic, Al Smith of New York, and the Ku Klux Klan was active in that campaign because they didn't believe a Catholic should be president. And so at a very young age, she concluded that, you know, she needed to stand up for right, and the Democratic Party was a party that was willing to stand up for right. So that was many, many years ago, you know, nearly 45 years ago now, that I started to develop my strong identification with the Democratic Party, and it's continued. You know, your readings of history over the decades, no party has a monopoly on vice or virtue. And there are times when, even into the early 1960s, there was at the national level maybe more support in the Republican Party for things like civil rights than in a Democratic Party that was dominated by segregationist Dixiecrats. But during my adult life, since I started voting, my first vote was in the 1976 presidential election when I was 18 years old. The Democratic Party has been the party that stood for the American values that I think are fundamental: the equality of all, education as the great lifter and great leveler. Our nation is strong not just by our own strength, but by the strength of alliances that we forge with the rest of the world. And for that, and so many reasons, believing in science, believing in equality, believing in compassion, in care, welcoming everyone, I strongly, strongly identify with the Democratic Party and believe it really represents the best of America. And I suspect that's the way you feel too, or you wouldn't be embarking on the initiatives to start this Teen Democratic Club. I don't have to tell you that this election is really important. For many of you, it will be your first election, just as I turned 18 in 1976 during a presidential year. You're turning 18 or maybe casting your first vote right now during a presidential year. I'm going to tell you something. I'm 62 years old. I've been on a national ticket with Hillary in 2016. I've run 10 races from city council to lieutenant governor to governor to Senate and being on a national ticket. But I can tell you this, I don't believe that I will ever cast a vote that's more important than the vote I'm going to cast in this year's election. And I'm planning on living for a very long time and casting a lot more votes and maybe being on more ballots in the future. But I just don't think there is a time in my life, in the past, present, or in the future, where more is at stake for who we are as a nation and for people we care about and the values we hold dear than right now. And so it makes me feel good as you're talking about starting this organization and the fact that you've already worked on campaigns, because we need help up and down the ballot. The presidential election, I'm so excited to be supporting Joe Biden, who's been a longtime friend. Joe and I were both vetted by Barack Obama to be on the ticket with him in 2008. And I got into the final three, although I was the long shot. And I certainly believed that Biden was the best pick and was glad that Obama chose him because they were such a good partnership. But I've gotten to know Joe so well. I worked with him when I was the governor of Virginia during his first term as vice president, when he was managing the Recovery Act, trying to bring the nation out of an economic ditch. And then in his second term as vice president, by then I was in the Senate on the Foreign Relations Committee that he had once chaired, working together on important foreign relations issues like the Paris Climate Accord or the nuclear negotiation to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions, which the Trump administration foolishly has blown up. I've seen a Joe Biden who's a man of compassion and character, and especially competence, watching him work to help bring the nation's economy out of the ditch in 2008 and 2009, and comparing that with the gross incompetence of the current administration, an incompetence that has led to tens of thousands of needless deaths by a pandemic that would have been challenging, but that we could have managed so much better if we had a president who believed in science, who wasn't a bigot, who wasn't a bully, who wasn't a narcissist. So I've watched Joe, and I know what Joe will do, and that is he will he will govern in accord with the values that we Democrats and we Americans believe in. I was really excited this week with the choice of Kamala to be Joe's running mate, because I mean, I'll tell you my personal opinion. I don't think after having tickets that for hundreds of years had to be confined to two white males, I don't think we should have tickets anymore that don't have gender and ethnic diversity. I played a major role in helping Barack Obama get elected president, working really hard to run his campaign in Virginia and break a 44-year drought where we had never put electoral votes behind a Democrat since 1964. And helping the first African-American be president was one of the great honors of my life. And it was one of the great honors of my life to do everything I could to help a first woman be president and be Hillary Clinton's running mate. We were able to win the popular vote, but as I like to say, we were electoral college dropouts. But how nice it is to see in 2020, the centennial of women getting the right to vote, that the Democratic Party has put up a ticket that looks like the US with ethnic diversity and with gender diversity. And that's the way it ought to be, because that's who our country is. And we shouldn't artificially limit presidential and vice presidential tickets to just one kind of person. It should be open to everybody. And that's what we're modeling. I know Kamala well. We worked very closely together for 4 years in the Senate. Mark Warner, my colleague, is on the Intel committee with her and knows her well too. And what you see with Kamala is what you get. She is a lifelong career public servant who has honed her skills as an attorney, and she's put that to good use on the Intel and Judiciary committees when she needs to speak truth to power or demand truth from power when witnesses are before her. But in addition to a lifelong career of public service, she also just brings a wonderful story to the table. If ever anybody should be on a ticket up against a president who has patented a xenophobic anti-immigrant mentality, Kamala Harris, the child of a Jamaican immigrant and an Indian immigrant mom, is somebody who understands the American immigrant story, that we're a nation of immigrants and that makes us stronger. And as a child of immigrants, she understands the dreams of immigrants. And so I'm so excited that she is on this ticket because of her great professional record of accomplishment, but also because she represents a wonderful part of America at its best in her own personal story. But let me tell you this, I feel really good about the ticket, but I take nothing for granted. I saw that Donald Trump as a candidate in 2016, the day I was nominated in Philadelphia to be on the ticket, he stood on a stage and asked Russia, an adversary of the United States, he asked Russia to help him win the election. Now that was at a time when he was a candidate and he didn't have any official powers, but now he's running as a president and he has a lot of official powers. He has the loudest microphone in the world. So when he spews out lies about quack medicine or raises racist lies about Kamala Harris's citizenship, that can have an impact. He has control over the post office. And so when he is putting lackeys in charge of that are reducing resources to the post office and threatening to raise mail rates to registrars mailing out absentee ballots, this is a president who will stop at absolutely nothing. He has an authoritarian impulse. I lived in a military dictatorship in 1980 and 81 when I was a missionary in Honduras, and I recognize authoritarians when I see them, and that's who this man is. That's who his instincts are, and he'll do anything to win, and if he doesn't win, he'll try to muddy the waters to make people believe that he did. So what that means is pretty much this. We have to make it so crystal clear in Virginia and elsewhere that no reasonable person can question it. And that work starts right now. As you probably know, our General Assembly has now expanded early vote. You can start voting in Virginia now on September 19th. That's just barely a month away. You can vote in person and you can vote absentee. And we need to do everything we can beginning on the 19th of September to get every voter we can to vote early in person, to vote early by mail, or to vote on election day, November 3rd. I happen to like early voting because the great thing about early voting is a voter can go, for example, in person, and if there's a problem, if they're told, well, your registration needs to be updated, or wait, you're in a different polling place now, or you moved and you haven't corrected your address, if you go early, you still have time to correct it before the registration deadline on October 13 and get it right before the November 3rd election day. So I would encourage you in your local races. We have a mayor's race in Richmond and city council races. Many of you might have the same in your races for Congress. I'm going to be doing an event with Abigail Spanberger later today to help make sure that she wins re-election in the 7th. And we've got good candidates, both incumbents and challengers all over Virginia, but then especially in Virginia with the re-election of Mark Warner to the Senate, my dear friend of now nearly 40 years. And then finally, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You guys are too young to remember this, but when I started in in state politics in 2001, Virginia was so red that no presidential campaign thought that they could compete and win in Virginia. Democrats wouldn't come here because why bother? Republicans wouldn't come here because they didn't need to. That started to change in 2008 when Virginia went with Barack Obama, when I was one of the early co-chairs of that campaign and was serving as governor. And again, with Obama in 2012 and then Clinton in 2016, we've now gone 3 in a row, electoral votes behind the Democratic candidate, and we need to make it 4 in a row. The nation is counting on us. The nation watches Virginia. We've worked our way from being an afterthought to being a leader. And that's what we need to be. And your organization as Virginia Teen Democrats will help us continue to do that. So I really am happy to be here and just kick you off a little bit. And if I'm glad to answer some questions, or I know you have additional agenda that you're going to do today, but I look forward to being on the campaign trail with you. And thanks so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Senator Kaine. That was very well said, and you really highlighted how important teen activism truly is and how it can make a difference. We are now, like you said, just going to ask you a few quick questions that came from our own members across the state.
Great.
So, what advice would you have for teenagers who are hoping to get into politics to get a head start?
So I'll give you 2 pieces of advice, and one's about politics and one's sort of about not politics. So on the politics side, what you guys are doing, working for campaigns and working for candidates, is just great. I wish I had done that as a kid. Probably the first race that I kind of remember working on as a volunteer was a ballot referendum issue when I was in law school that dealt with, I was at law school at Harvard, and Massachusetts was thinking about reimposing capital punishment. That was the first campaign I ever worked on, and I was maybe 26 or so when that happened. I wish I had done some work with candidates when I was in high school. So that's really important because it kind of demystifies it for you. If you're not involved in politics, you can kind of read about it in the paper and think that, you know, that's for other people, not for me, you know, kind of like Hollywood or pro sports or something. But if you work on a campaign, you will see it's just everyday regular people just like you, and you'll find, I think, that you make good friends. So that's number one. The second thing I would say is kind of a non-political piece of advice. Looking back now, having been in office for 26 years, here's what I noticed. I've served with a tremendous number of good people, from city council through state government into the U.S. Senate. In general, I would say the best people I've served with were people who had some other expertise in their life that they then brought into politics, rather than just being a political person. I'll give you an example. I've served with people who, you know, their first job out of college was working in a congressional office or doing political work. And that's basically what they did until they got elected to office. And some of them are good. I'm not saying they're all bad, but I think the better legislators or public servants I've worked with are people who, you know, they might have been in the military, or a small business owner, or a public school teacher, or a physician. I served once with a tree surgeon. I've served with a large animal veterinarian. I practiced civil rights law for 17 years, doing civil rights work in courthouses all around Virginia and all around the country. And I then decided at age 35 to run for the Richmond City Council. But by the time I did, I had a real expertise in civil rights that I brought into politics. And the reason I say that's a good thing is, if you have an expertise you really love, and then you really develop that, when you go into politics, you'll kind of be the go-to person. Your colleagues will say, you know, we're dealing with an issue about, you know, Medicare expansion. Hey, so-and-so's a nurse. Let's go talk to her about what it's like on the front lines. Or we're dealing with issues dealing with substance abuse. Well, so-and-so used to be a counselor and has worked with people with substance use disorder. So let's go chat with that person. So I'd say do work with campaigns, but find a passion that really motivates you and become an expert at it, and then bring that into politics rather than just bringing your political interest into politics.
Okay. How do we keep momentum for this election going, especially during a pandemic?
This is a challenging one. I you know, in a way, I'm glad I'm not on the ballot. I'm not up for re-election this year, because everything that I know how to do campaign-wise that I've done since 1994, the things that I'm really good at, I couldn't do. You know, I like to shake people's hands and give them a hug, and I like to sit in their living rooms and talk and work a rope line and be in parades and do crowd events. And so it's kind of hard to figure out the way to make it work. But there are smart, you know, campaign managers. The guy running Warner's campaign, Bruce Sinclair, is the best. Jen O'Malley Dillon, the Biden campaign chair, is a longtime friend of mine, and they're sort of figuring it out. So here's my prediction. I don't think engagement is going to be a problem. I think engagement and excitement and a desire to turn out, what we've seen in every election in Virginia, 2017, 2018, 2019, even the primaries in June, and other states have seen the same, because there have been primaries in states as different as Wisconsin and Georgia during the pandemic, and there was big turnout. I think the desire is going to be there for massive engagement. There will be anxieties. The anxieties that will make people worried about standing in a long line, or will make poll workers worried about working the traditional shift that they work every year. So we have to figure out how to solve some of those anxieties. And, you know, what I have been advising campaigns is, you know, if I was doing a campaign this year, I might, you know, have, instead of regional teams, I might have divide my field team into three: a early vote team, a vote by mail team, and a vote on election day team. Different people will have different preferences about how they want to vote. And you may need to set up sort of different strategies for each. But the one thing I would strongly encourage any campaign to do, and I have encouraged the Biden team to do this, is try to do as much in-person early voting as you can, because that voting, you know, it's kind of like early vote gets the win. It gets the vote in the bank, but it also surfaces if there's any problems. If somebody goes to vote in person early, and then they happen to be told that there's something wrong with their registration, or that they need to change their precinct or something like that, you still have time to do it. Early vote starts September 19. Registration deadline is on October 13. So I think the energy will be there. We need to use different strategies to make sure that people have their vote and it's counted. And I would really focus on organizing early vote.
Okay, and then final question before I hand it off to Anika. What advice would you give to teenagers whose political ideologies differ from those around them, rather that be family or area or friends?
I'm so glad that Anika asked that question, because that was my case. And even, so that as a teenager, my parents were Republicans. At that time, Kansas Republicans were pretty moderate. Bob Dole, Nancy Lynn, and Casabon. It wasn't right wing. But then, I started to run in Richmond. I'm a Democrat. I ran for lieutenant governor and governor. I'm a Democrat. Even running for governor, my parents were still Republicans. But over the time of my service as governor in Virginia, both because they loved me, but also, frankly, my parents just got tired of the rightward drift of the Republican Party. My mother is now a Democrat, and my dad has switched from Republican to independent in Kansas. But that took a very long time. And I will say it wasn't contentious. Some of you might be in families. I mean, I can just imagine, because I know so many people are, where, the differences can be contentious. And I think that, look, the key is to be a good listener first. There's nothing wrong in life with having friends whose political points of view are different, or family whose are. In fact, it would be rare if that isn't the case. You're going to have people close to you whose political views are different. I try to never let relationships break down over political differences. So maintaining a line of communication, and when you can't productively dialogue with a friend or family member over politics, I usually tend to have a little bit of a truce attitude. Hey, look, I love you. You're my family member, or you're my friend. On this one, we just disagree, and I'm not going to convince you, and you're not going to convince me. So let's just focus on other topics. But you know what? All of you, if you're in communities or in families or with friends groups where folks are different, what you're going to learn to do is you're going to learn to be a diplomat. And actually, this will help you if you go into politics, because I'm in the Senate every day with 99 other senators, some of whom I disagree with strongly. But my job is Virginia sends two there and every other state sends two, and I don't get to pick who the other ones send. I'm supposed to work with them. So if you think about politics as something you might want to do later, run for office, for example, anything you can do to maintain open dialogue with somebody whose views are different, without ceding your own principles, anything you can do to maintain an open and civil relationship with people whose views are different will be good training for you to be super effective at your job should you ever go into politics. And frankly, it'll just help you in life, because say you never go into politics, you're going to be working in places where people have different points of view. You're going to be part of PTAs where there's different points of view, or church, boards of rectors where there's different points of view, or families where you and your significant other might disagree about things. So if you get to a place where you're a really good listener and you don't let disagreement get in the way of a relationship, that's going to be a huge head start for you on success in politics and in everything else.
Okay, and I think I'm going to hand it over to Anika.
All right, you guys have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you out on the trail.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi everybody, I'm Anika Damaraju from Loudoun. I am the Potomac Regional Chair for Virginia Teen Democrats. And before we proceed, I'm not sure if the Senator has logged off, but it was really great hearing from you, Senator. Thank you so much. If you please feel free to leave a thank you in the chat for him, or click on the clapping emoji down on the Zoom taskbar. Now to continue, I would like to introduce you all to arguably one of the most powerful women in Virginia, the Chairwoman of DPVA, Susan Swecker. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come talk to us today.
You're muted, I think. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, now we can hear you.
Yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks so much for having me. And Ethan, thank you for pulling this together. What is more apropos than on the eve of our national convention, albeit virtual, but on the eve of this, really important event that you all are having your rollout. And I'm just so happy to be here with you. My first convention was, Tim said he was, his first vote was in 1976. That was actually the first state convention that I ever attended. Back then, we had a great nominee. The Republicans were in disarray, exactly like it is this year, right? So as much as things get different, they also stay the same. I really, Tim Kaine is such a great guy and such a great public servant, but I always hate to follow him because he is so eloquent and his words just flow crisper and more fluid than the East Branch of the Potomac River is flowing this morning in Highland County. But I'm gonna give it a try, although I do have a cheat sheet here a little bit. So I love conventions. I love the gathering together. I love the balloon drop. I love the trading of the buttons and the wearing of the hats. And I thought maybe somebody'd wear a hat or a funny hat or something today, but sometimes I do that just because I hide my hair, because hair is a challenge these days. But I love all of that, and the embellishment of the stories. And it's really just like, as you all will find, and you've found this through this on Zoom and the way we do this, it's just a big political family reunion. So we're just doing it a little bit different. And while I'm disappointed we can't be together in Milwaukee, I also am grateful that Vice President Biden and Tom Perez, the head of the DNC, and other decision makers made a quick and swift choice to keep us all safe and healthy and do this the right way. So it has been an experience, and we've worked really hard at the state party this week to try to provide as much of a regular convention feel as possible. We kicked off all of our pre-convention activities last night with Hat and Hat A. I just wanted to share this story with you, and because it was just so meaningful. We had a happy hour with the Maryland, we called it the DMV event, District, Maryland, and Virginia. So all the delegations gathered from there, and we heard from Senator Mark Warner and Senator Chris Van Hollen and the great, amazing Donna Brazile. And we did these little breakout things, and we came back. And there was an older gentleman, and I say older, I think he was even older than me, from Maryland, who spoke up and said, he was sitting in his chair, and he had a kind of a quiet voice, but very well-spoken, measured, older white man, and started talking about how this election, what this election meant to him, and how generational it was, and how he started out, he quoted JFK and LBJ, and how that, those changes during that era, what they had meant, and specifically talked about the passage of the Immigration Act in 1965, which was when LBJ was president. And I looked it up because I wanted to get this right. And that act established, at that point, there was a quota system in place about immigrants. So this act established a more open immigration policy that was based on recruiting immigrant families and attracting skilled labor. And his voice started to crack. And then we all got very emotional because he said, just think about this ticket and generationally what it says, and that we have a woman of color that is from a first generation immigrant family who is, a part of this historic ticket. And it was just one of those moments that I was just glad I was there and glad I got to hear it. But I do think that is, it is really key, and I hope it speaks to you all, because this election is really going to be up to you all and Maureen and the Young Democrats to get the youth vote out, because that's what Donald Trump is scared about the most. But the idea that Joe Biden not only selected an amazing woman, but he uplifted so many women and so many women of color in this process. And if you look at what happened, they all congratulated Kamala. Everybody weighed in, said what a great choice she was. I mean, I'm just so proud of all of the people that ran for president and how we are uniting behind this amazing ticket and how we have come together and that we lift up all voices. Now, and you know, Tim Kaine, I'm glad he talked about Hillary, but you know, he's like Joe. I mean, they're used to working with strong women and being allied with strong women, and you know, he certainly Tim was on a ticket with a strong woman. But I have to give a shout out to his wife too, Ann Holton, who's a strong woman in her own right and has amazing credentials and has been an amazing partner with him, and not just in the family, but in politics. I mean, former Secretary of Education under Terry McAuliffe, former juvenile and domestic judge. She interned as a president of George Mason University. And so I think when, you know, strong, experienced men are not afraid of strong, experienced women. And this is I think, the way this vice presidential process vetting and rollout has been is it was absolutely spectacular, and it lifted us all up. I sure hope it did you all. So I'm supposed to talk a little bit about what you all can do and what we need you to do and hope for you to do. So this is not the election cycle we thought we'd have, but if we've learned anything since March is that Virginia Democrats are up to the task. We're going to stay goal focused, and we know how to pivot. We know how to work around things, and we know how to make stuff work. But I need your all's help, and I know you are already working on it. I'm just so impressed with your organization. So I do want to give you a couple of things, and maybe somebody could put this in, or I'll try to put it in the chat room too. So one thing, you know, because obviously it's Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, but it's also Mark Warner and all our wonderful, amazing congressional candidates that we have. So we are supporting everybody with the Democratic Party up and down the ballot, up and down. We are all united. So one thing you can do is to help out our coordinated campaign effort is sign up to help out at mobilize.us.va-victory. Mobilize.us/ not a dot, / VA victory. If Grant's on the phone, Grant, you could put that in there. And I see Christina Shepard is signed in. Hi, Christina, we miss you, but thanks for everything you're doing. They have tons of meetings and events every week, Zooms like this one with different elected officials. And it's a great way to get involved and without having, once again, to leave your house or your area of comfort. Now, you all can really help us organize your friends, whether it's like, you know, you're going to be 18 by election day so you can register to vote. Voter registration is down. We understand that. It's a challenge this year. That's something that you can help us with. You can go to vademocrats.org, and up at the top there, it's got 2020 election information. You can click on there and it will go through all the process on how to register to vote, I believe, and how to get an absentee ballot and all of that. But, you know, you all know how to do this. I don't. I mean, I thought I was cool being on Facebook and Instagram. Now you got TikTok and all these other things. So, but there's, you know, make up your own stuff and tell people how they can do and point them to the website and all of that. And also help out your parents and your grandparents. You know, they're not probably as well versed in all this online and that on how to vote or how to register and do things like that. So, you know, they might have some questions that comes very easy to you, or even other older friends in the neighborhood, teachers, whatever. They might not know how to navigate the website, the State Board of Elections website, to request an absentee ballot, or even know how to donate to Joe Biden online or any of our other great candidates. So please take some time to help them out. Reach out to us if we can help you. We do have, and I think this is something I'm really excited about. our voter protection team at the party has been merged into the Biden campaign voter protection team. So starting today, there is a 6-person voter protection team in Virginia that will be divided up into regions, because we know that we have to educate on this too, right? All the stuff Senator Kaine talked about. Thank goodness we took the majority last year and were able to put into place things like no excuse absentee voting, early vote, or at 45 days out. You can actually now request your ballot online. Go ahead and request it. And then they at least should start mailing it out to you 45 days out. There's so many things that are changing. No photo ID. I mean, you need another form of ID if you go to vote in person, but you know, the photo, it's no longer that onerous, discriminatory photo ID. So, you know, educate yourself on that. We would certainly be happy to help and get the voter protection team to do, if you want to do a seminar on that, or if that would be helpful to you all. But one other thing that I am starting to see a lot of, and I think is a way we ought to move as well, is request your ballot online, get your ballot, fill it out. You can actually then take that ballot to your registrar's office or your satellite location if you have one, and drop it off. And you know, call your registrar's office or check it out, because some of those places are going to have lock boxes that are just right there that you can hand them off to. So you may feel a little more safer about your vote actually getting there. Or if you're going to vote by mail, do it early. Educate people to do it early and not wait till the last week. That is critically important. So you have got, you all are literally, I mean, we are right here in the making of history. And these last 3.5+ years have been, you know, really hard, right? I mean, they've been really hard on all of us. But I have been proud every step of the way how Virginia Democrats have stepped up, and we showed the world, gave hope to the world and a country in 2017 with our big victories. And every year since, you know, it's challenging, but I think we all know that truly that our country and the world and how we govern and care for people and treat people is at risk. I want to just share one little moment in history that I was reading about this morning with you that struck me. On the final day of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia in 1787, when our Constitution was adopted, Americans gathered on the steps of Independence Hall to await the news of what kind of government we were going to have. A white woman, a socialite to the wealthiest families in Philadelphia, who was a political thinker and very involved in politics there, Elizabeth Powell, asked, what do we have, a republic or a monarchy? Benjamin Franklin, as you know, one of the founders, said, a republic if we can keep it. Now, that's where we are today. And we need your help to make sure that we have a strong republic, a democracy, so that we can restore America back to what we know it can be, not just for now, but for your generation and the children that come after you. I'm so inspired by you all, and thank you so much for having me. Go fight, win.
All right. Thank you so much, Madam Chairwoman. I think you truly showed us how important it is to get out and be involved in elections, no matter the size or importance. So I'm Michelle Nguyen from Brook County, the Tidewater Regional Chair here at Virginia Team Democrats. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the virtual stage Virginia Young Democrats President Maureen Coffey.
Thank you all so much. It's great to see all of this energy today. Wow, like this is really awesome. As Michelle said, I am the president of the Virginia Young Democrats. VAYD is an organization that's been supporting the Democratic youth in Virginia, ages 13 to 35 for the last 88 years. So we have members that, you know, range from freshmen in high school all the way through young professionals who have been working for over 10 years. We have a pretty powerful history. Though political winds change pretty frequently, the importance of youth involvement and advocacy and just our presence in politics has never lessened. And I think we can all really agree that this year, young people are more important than ever. It's so important that we are all on the same page and working together to make sure we protect our democracy. Because if we don't, it is our futures that are gonna suffer. The 65 plus group, who is the largest voting bloc typically, they're not the ones that are gonna deal with all of the consequences of another 4 years of a Trump presidency, for example. So VAYD has been working for so many years to advocate and make progress on the causes that matter for our future. We've advocated at the local, state, and federal level for DACA students who are, our friends and our peers, for paid internships at every single level, including with DPVA, so that everyone can have equitable access to political experiences, and for protections and anti-discrimination laws to protect our LGBTQ friends. So just thus far this year, since the beginning of the summer, our organization voted to endorse the DNC climate platform, passed a resolution at the Young Democrats of America conference to encourage all legislatures to lower the voting age to 16, and put together a legislative agenda for the special session in Richmond that will begin this Tuesday. It is so incredibly important that we continue to do this work together. We don't have time for drama. We do not have space for division. We all need to come together and focus on what really matters. And that is a huge part of why VAYD has started implementing a lot of changes to empower teens in this particular year. Our Teen Caucus, which has been a part of VAYD for 88 years, and though the activity has fluctuated basically based upon which teens are involved and how much they're willing to dedicate to it, has more autonomy and authority than ever. While the chair of our Teen Caucus has always had a seat on the Democratic Party of Virginia's Central Committee, and we are only one of 2 states to have a teen in such a prominent party role, we now have given a broad range of new opportunities to our caucus. The caucus will be allowed to pass their own resolutions, one of which they just did, which was to expand what Fairfax County has done in giving students opportunities to skip school in order to participate in civic engagement, which I think is a fantastic idea. I would have loved that when I was in high school. They have the ability to host their own events with a focus on programming that is relevant to teens specifically. And we have also agreed to give the caucus the ability to fundraise independently from us, and any money raised will go directly to them in addition to the amount that we've already dedicated to them just in our normal budget process. So we're really supporting them overall. And finally, we have implemented a chapter mentorship program to help all chapters, but especially high school chapters and teen chapters and new chapters to learn and grow and be successful, basically. In order for us to do that and be successful, we need you all to continue to be passionate, dedicated, and engaged. We have generations of young leaders who want nothing more than to help the next generation take over. Sorry about that. Our Executive Vice President, Graham Weinshank, started off as the Teen Caucus Chair and a member of the Yorktown High School Young Democrats. Today, he's integral to Virginia Young Democrats as an organization, but also is integral to many of the party's efforts across the state and even across the country. Graham's leadership and vocal advocacy for teens, not only while he was in high school, but even since then, has led to a change that allowed a teen member to have a seat and a voting position on the Democratic National Committee for the first time ever. And Graham, his work in a few short years is impressive, but it's not an outlier. Past VAYD members have included Virginia's former Attorney General, Andrew Pickens Miller, current State Senator Jennifer McClellan, who's also running for governor in 2021, Dominique Cabello, Chief of Staff to New Mexico's Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, Delegate Alfonso Lopez, some internal party leaders such as Frank Leon and Margot Horner, and just so many more. VAYD is we're not about a moment in time. We are an organization that invests in young people. It's not just about making your chapter succeed, but we really want to see individuals, our members, our leaders succeed and grow and become the people who are going to change this state, country, world. And, you know, to do that, we really want to give you all the space to learn and grow as a leader. We want to provide the resources and the networking that's going to make you successful in the future. And maybe most importantly, I think everyone who's been a part of this organization has found lifelong friends in VAYD. I know that I personally have, and Graham has as well, you know, even since he was 15 and just got involved. But we're so incredibly excited to bring you all into our organization. There's already so much planned to be excited about. Next weekend, Congresswoman Elaine Luria is going to be kicking off our phone bank, where we'll be joining folks across the state to make 10,000 calls for her in one day. We have events scheduled with Senator Warner, Abigail Spanberger, Cameron Webb, and of course, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, our wonderful 2020 ticket. So our campaign competition will actually begin this week after convention with prizes for the chapters that report the most campaign activity. The top 3 groups that are chartered with us will be able to choose from a $500 donation directly to your chapter, free registration for our next convention, or VAYD's assistance in getting any speaker or guest that your chapter would like for an event. So we're really excited about this year. 2020 is going to be our year because you know what? It has to be. There is no other choice here. And you know, we can't wait to bring you all into VAYD and to help you and Democrats all over Virginia succeed this year. I really think that Virginia is such an icon in our country for what progress looks like. When I was in high school, I went to Stonewall Jackson High School in Manassas, Virginia, which has just been renamed to Unity Reed High School finally. But I remember having conversations at my lunch table about abortion and reproductive rights and protections for LGBT people, and being one of the few on what I consider the right side. And I know how hard that can be. And I wish that I had had an organization like VAYD and the Teen Caucus to get me involved and to show me that, you know, we're not alone out here. There's so many people who feel this way. And the more infrastructure we can have and the more support we can give, the better off everyone will be, not just ourselves, but the people we care about as well. So thank you so much for giving me this time to talk to you all. I will drop my email address and our website into the chat. But yeah, go 2020, go fight win.
Thank you so much. And now we're going to have Pranav.
Absolutely. So thank you to Maureen for really highlighting the ways in which VAYD and VATD can work together to elect Democrats up and down the ballot, and how we as both teens and young adults can kind of collaborate to really get that done, including some really incredible events. So in addition, in this era, teen advocacy groups are making so many tangible policy changes across our country. So on that note, I would like to introduce you to Samir and Angel from the Youth Climate Action Team, and they are going to be talking to us about environmental justice and how we as young people can help out.
Hey everyone, thank you so much to all of the previous speakers. You guys are absolutely amazing. And thank you to the Virginia Teen Democrats for inviting Samir and I to speak. It's an honor to once again be here amongst powerful and passionate teen organizers who are excited about bringing tangible political change to their own communities. Like Pranav said, my name is Angel Nwadibia, and I currently serve as the National Head of Research at the Youth Climate Action Team, as well as being an executive organizer at the DMV chapter of the organization. And I want to begin by echoing the very powerful message that many of the speakers here have done so today. The youth voice is powerful. Having been able to organize with a variety of youth-led organizations, I can confidently say that the youth bloc holds so much immense, untapped energy, excitement, and influence. I've seen this directly in environmental justice. Prior to September 2019, the topic of environmental justice and climate change had not been on the forefront of national discourse. But after the powerful week of actions that we saw, the last week of September, organized by youth organizers all across the United States, talk less about around the world. These issues have become one of the primary voting priorities in the upcoming 2020 election. While some may deny our power, we can make a difference. You can make a difference. I remember feeling discouraged by authorities at my school who didn't believe in the importance of students being able to exercise their First Amendment rights. However, with only one other person by my side, the two of us successfully advocated for an amendment to our county's absence policy that would allow the youth to be excused from school for civic engagement purposes, similar to what has been done in Fairfax County over the past few months. This is our power. Let's learn to harness it. And I'll pass it on to my co-organizer, Samir.
Hey everyone, my name is Samir Chowdhury and I'm the Executive Hub Lead of the DMV Youth Climate Action Team and the State Infrastructure Director of the Virginia Youth Climate Cooperative. I believe I can best encapsulate the power teens have to make an impact in policy through a story. So it was just a couple months ago at 2 in the morning when I found myself watching videos of AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on YouTube, and I was so inspired by her conviction, her passion, her dedication. And I knew I wanted to take policy-related action like her. Flash forward to today, I'm now spearheading and writing a climate education policy for Fairfax County Public Schools that will bring comprehensive climate change education to nearly 190,000 students across my county. Furthermore, as part of the Virginia Youth Climate Cooperative, I've also been involved in lobbying delegates of the Virginia General Assembly, who have even accepted some of our policy proposals, including ones on air quality and racial justice. From these experiences, I've learned and I hope to demonstrate that the power of teens is undeniable, and through passion and commitment, we can get real change done. The DMV Youth Climate Action Team is hosting a powerhouse event where we'll be calling, emailing, and signing petitions to spur our local officials to act on climate and racial justice. We need as many of you involved as possible, and if you'd love to get involved and earn volunteer hours, I'll drop the link in the chat. Thank you so much for giving me this platform. Please register for the Powerhouse event, and now I'll pass the floor back to Selina.
Thank you so much, Samir and Angel, and thank you so much for talking. And thank you everyone for coming. We would like to give a huge thanks to Andrew Whitley for making this all possible, and thank you to our amazing speakers, Senator Kaine and Chairwoman Swecker. It's amazing to see teens so passionate and involved. And if you lead a Democratic club at your school or want to create one, please visit our website. It just went live today to get connected to us. And if you just want to get involved with VATD, make sure to join our Slack. And a couple people have said that's not working. So you can just go on our website and click contact us, and there should be information as well. And don't be afraid to email us or reach out with any questions. And just a quick shout out, thank you so much to our texting team today. They texted for us conference on such short notice. So thank you to Henry, Michelle, Brook, and Lila. And have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for being here.